A lot of times in the NFL and the NBA, when we're talking about having success in the playoffs, it's not always the best team that wins. It's the healthiest team. Take the playoffs in the NFL a couple of months ago, for example. The Saints roster was stacked, elite talent at all the skill positions. But as the season wore on, the injuries started to pile up, which is not unusual. I mean, New Orleans was on a 4-year run where they won more games in the regular season than any other team in the league. Eventually, in the midst of a run like that, the injuries are to be expected. It happens. Going into the playoffs, Michael Thomas banged up. Hell, Michael Thomas was banged up the entire season. Quan Alexander was lost. I believe he was lost for the season in December. Drew Brees had multiple injuries he was dealing with. Tom Brady and the Bucks, on the other hand, for the most part, they were healthy. That's one of the things that makes the Patriots' 20-year dynasty so impressive, so special. New England found a way to make a deep playoff run damn near every year, injuries or not. Right now in the NBA, the Lakers potentially are in trouble. Now, take the potentially out of that sentence. The Lakers are in trouble right now. Anthony Davis has been out since the beginning of February with a calf strain. Hell, he's missed half the season with one injury or another. And now, LeBron James is out indefinitely. He was injured early in the game yesterday against the Hawks. Solomon Hill was going for a steal, and he ended up rolling into LeBron's ankle. It was later determined that LeBron has a high ankle sprain. Now you may be thinking, well, that's no big deal. It's just a sprain. LeBron could be back in a couple of weeks tops. Which could happen. I mean, that could be the case. Pacers center Miles Turner, he had a high ankle sprain recently, and he was able to return in about 3 days. Maybe LeBron can bounce back just as quickly. But I've got my doubts. I have my doubts. The thing with a high ankle sprain, there's a lot of variables that can determine how long you're going to be out. The severity of the sprain, the involved joint, whether there's an accompanying injury that is going along with it. We just don't know at this point if any of that affects LeBron. We don't know how long LeBron's going to be out. The Lakers are saying indefinitely, so we don't know. Over the last 6 years, the average NBA player missed 10 games with a high ankle sprain injury. However, it could take as long as 3 months to recover from it. You got to remember, Miles Turner is 24 years old. Your body heals much quicker when you're younger. LeBron James is 36. I mean, I know he's in peak physical condition. I know he spends over $1 million every year to take care of his body. But there's no fighting against Mother Nature. The older you are, the longer it can take for you to bounce back from an injury. Now, I'm sure the defenders of load management will use LeBron as an example of why it's important to scale back during the regular season. Even though I hate load management, they have a strong point. But LeBron's injury wasn't a result of fatigue or exhaustion or playing too many minutes. That was something that can happen to anyone at any point. It was an accident. Solomon Hill, on the other hand, he is taking a lot of heat right now for rolling LeBron's ankle. Montrezl Harrell called him out after the game. He basically called Solomon Hill out for injuring LeBron on purpose without saying that he injured LeBron on purpose. He said that wasn't a loose ball type of play and that Solomon Hill had to dive through LeBron's legs to go after the ball. Basically, he was calling it a dirty play. I don't see it that way. I didn't see it that way. Look, I'm no fan of Solomon Hill. I watched him collect millions of dollars from the Pelicans for years and produce absolutely nothing on the court. He was captain of the bum squad in New Orleans, but this wasn't a dirty play by Solomon Hill. He's not a dirty player. Now, I know this sucks right now for the Lakers, but going into this season, I'm sure that Frank Vogel and Rob Pelinka had this in the back of their minds. It was a quick turnaround. The Lakers won the finals in October. A few weeks later, they're back at training camp. Then the regular season started late December. That is a rapid turnaround. You add that to the fact that you have an aging superstar in LeBron James, and a fragile superstar in Anthony Davis, the injuries were bound to happen at some point. So, what does this mean for the Lakers going forward? Are they in danger of not making it back to the NBA Finals? It's hard enough to make back to back to the finals under ideal circumstances, much less when you're dealing with severe injuries to two of your superstar players. The holes on this roster in Los Angeles are about to be exposed. There are very few players in the NBA that have the ability to hide the weaknesses on your roster. LeBron James is one of the few that have that ability. He can cover up your flaws. He is that damn good. But when you really dig into this roster, the Lakers are deeply flawed. With LeBron out, they had just one ball handler, Dennis Schroeder. Their half-court offense is it's not great. In a league reliant on three-point shooting, the Lakers struggle from beyond the arc. They're 22nd in three-point shooting percentage, 25th in attempts. They don't shoot many threes. The defense is not as athletic as it was last season. Frank Vogel relies on LeBron's experience to lead the defense. Well, now LeBron James is gone. Plus, the Lakers are about to enter a brutal stretch over the next month. They have 16 games over the next 4 or so weeks. Half of those games are against elite teams, the Suns, the Jazz twice, Clippers, Bucks, Nets. This could get ugly fast for the Lakers. The Western Conference is loaded. Right now, the Lakers are the 3 seed, 2.5 games out of first place. But they only have a 2.5 game lead over Portland, who's at 6. The Mavs, they're creeping up at the 8th spot. I'm not saying the Lakers are in danger of missing the playoffs right now, but they are in danger of slipping in the Western Conference standings. Will they get into a situation where LeBron James has to be rushed back from this injury? Only time will tell. I'm sure they'll make some moves at the trade deadline to fill the holes on this roster, but that is not going to be enough to stop the potential bleeding. The playoffs are literally 2 months away. That might seem like a long time, but it'll be here before you know it. Plus, the Lakers don't have many tradable assets. They have a first-round draft pick in 2027. That's their only one. Not exactly something to entice potential trade suitors. That's 6 years away. They don't have any cap space because they're breaking the bank paying LeBron and Anthony Davis. You have got to wonder if LeBron is going to be 100% going into the playoffs. The Lakers cannot make a deep playoff run without a fully healthy LeBron James. They're also relying on Anthony Davis, a guy who's been injured his entire NBA career. I remember when AD was in New Orleans. He was always injured. Never anything major, but he always had some nagging injury that he was missing games for. Now, he was durable last season, but he had a 5-month break to get healthy before the playoffs. Like I said at the beginning, once you reach the playoffs, it's not always about who has the best roster. It's about who has the healthiest roster. And the Lakers are looking at entering the playoffs with their 2 superstar players not at 100%. If that's the case, they don't stand a chance. They don't stand a chance. You are not beating a healthy Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert with LeBron and AD banged up. You're not beating the Suns, the Nuggets. Hell, the Western Conference is so stacked, the Lakers might not make it out of the first round if LeBron's not 100%. The good news is the x-rays came back negative. And at the time of this recording, the results of the MRI hadn't been released yet. But I think Frank Vogel is going to find himself in a situation where they're going to have to rush LeBron back just so they don't slip too far in the standings. Which is a risk. If he's faced with that situation, that is a big risk. But what other choice would he have? Do you see this team beating those elite teams I mentioned earlier without LeBron James? The one person begging for LeBron to be healthy for the playoffs, probably more than anybody else, Adam Silver. When LeBron and the Lakers missed the playoffs 2 years ago, the ratings declined. I know there are a lot of LeBron haters out there, but when he's not in the NBA playoffs, the casual NBA fan just isn't watching. We'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting 4 weeks in Los Angeles. Now let's hear what you guys think. Was Solomon Hill playing dirty on that play that injured LeBron James? Are the Lakers at risk of missing the playoffs? Do they stand a chance in the postseason if LeBron and Anthony Davis aren't 100%? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com. KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys on Tuesday.